This is Mason Weaver, the host of Lead the Plantation. We meet here every Tuesday, and I got a lot of things planned for you today. I want you to settle down, settle in. It's time for us to get to work, folks. It is showtime. So I want to invite you to join us on our website, leadtheplantation.org. Sign up for the email list. We're going to have an organization that's going to be pushing back. This is election time all over again, folks. Before we get started, let's look at the background. Every time we lose the election, every time we lose the presidency, every time we lose the House or the Senate, or in this case, all three, we go into a depression. We start figuring out how can we do this. They band together with the news and the press and the media, and they talk about social media, and they control our thinking. They make us argue with ourselves. And I get a question, man, often, Mason, how can we win the argument? How can we get the Democrats on our side? How can we convert black voters? How can we do that? And when you argue and debate with a Democrat, it never works. You know, it never works because they're not interested in the truth. The Democrats it's a spirit. The same spirit of feudalism, the same spirit of serfdom, the spirit of slavery, the spirit of abuse. And we look at them through history. They're the same people, the same philosophy, the same general history. That's what they do. And we are the spirit of light. And we cannot understand why they want to be in darkness. And we get frustrated. We think that just telling them the truth is going to be enough. Presenting them with the arguments is going to be enough. It never is enough. It will never work, both because they don't believe in the truth. They know the truth, and they recognize the truth, but they hate the truth. It's like if you are a rose bush, you require sunlight to bloom. But if you're standing next to some fungus, you try to be friends with fungus, fungus wants to be in the darkness and damp. Democrats and you require two different environments to bloom. They're the party of hatred. They are. And they smile in your face. They smile in your face until they get the majority. They ask for compromise until they get the majority. Look at the history. Let's look at where they came from, because they tell us they have changed. They tell us, but we've changed from slavery. We've changed from the Klan. They keep saying that we've changed. Let's look at who they are, where they are, and who they are today, and see if we can recognize the change in them. And then I'm going to talk about how to handle them, how to win them over, how to bring them to our side. You would never bring, you never bring the leadership to your side, but you can bring the fellowship to your side. You know how to deal with them. This is Mason Weaver. As soon as this program is over, rush to the website, leadtheplantation.org, and get your copy of Raunchy Secrets Only Wives Should Know. It will give you information, knowledge on how to communicate to your man your needs and your frustrations. And it opens up a conversation, and the conversation leads to love, and love leads to a family, and family leads to freedom. Get the copy today at leadtheplantation.org. The Democratic Party was founded to make us compromise. Their whole philosophy was for us to compromise. And we all during the formation of our nation, the Democrats were calling for compromise. One slave state and one free state. It'll be okay. It's fair. And those who want slavery can go to slave states, and those who don't, it's just common ground and tolerance and fairness. So we had the Kansas-Nebraska Act. We had the Missouri Compromise. We had, every time a state wanted to be free, you had to find a slave state to join them. They wanted compromise. And that's all they ever want until they get the majority. Notice how they tell us to compromise. Mason, watch what you say. Don't be offensive. Don't be closed-minded. Don't be narrow-minded. Be more tolerant. Well, we know they're not tolerant. They're not open-minded. They don't care about offending us. They keep telling us don't. And every time you talk to a liberal, they start telling what you can and cannot say. Well, we're not going to talk about politics. I hate Trump. We're not going to talk about politics. I think Trump is a racist, but we don't talk about they want you to not respond. They continually to try to dictate and control the way you speak. I wear my Trump hat every day, folks. See it? I got a whole lot of them. I wear it every day. And I've had people come up to me and say, why are you wearing that hat? I'm a 71-year-old grown man, but people feel compelled to come to me and comment on my attire. The Democrats come to you and tell you to wear a mask. They would actually confront a grown man and say, you should wear a mask. I would never consider telling a grown man what he should be wearing. I see guys with their butts hanging out their pants, sagging all down. I don't say put your pants up. I see them with their hats on sideways and crazy, gold teeth in their mouth. I don't say stop doing that because they're grown. But Democrats will continue to tell you what you should not do. And then they continue to tell you you're mean and insensitive and angry and racist and all kind of words. They're very good at labels. If you don't follow their direction, something's wrong with you. That's their philosophy, folks. That's what they do. They've always done this. It's the same spirit that abused women, the same spirit that had slaves in Egypt, the same spirit of serfdom in England. It's what the spirit does. It is deceptive. And they sit around and scheme and plan for decades on you. Right now, they're planning for the election in 2022. They're planning to steal more of our seats. They're planning to call us names. They're planning the destruction of the Republican Party, while the Republican Party is planning on being fair. So the Democratic Party is the party, always have been the party of misery. It was the party, it was founded, think about it, folks, it was founded where it grew for the purpose of oppressing slaves. Study the philosophy of how to get a person so deep-rooted in slavery that you don't need change anymore. You have to chain them up at night anymore. They will pick the cotton. You had slaves bragging about whose plantation was the best, whose master was the best. I have a bigger plantation. I work with Master Gilmore's. He got 45 acres. The slaves were so brainwashed they accepted slavery as their existence. Like a young lady prostitution. You get a prostitute, she accepts the role of a prostitute. You get a gang member, he accepts the role as a gang member. That's what they are. You will see gangs only in Democrat neighborhoods. Notice that you don't see Bloods and Crips in Republican neighborhoods. So they have this idea of controlling your thought and your emotions. And they're very good at it because it's their church. It's their religion. They study it. They know how to get you riled up. That's why we always argue. They say things that are stupid and crazy, and we spend 20 minutes trying to convince them how stupid and crazy it is, instead of talking the facts. They do that for us. It was the Democratic Party who expanded slavery, controlled slaves, picked the slaves, killed the slaves, beat the slaves. It was the Democratic Party who protected slavery, fought for slavery. It was a union for slavery. It was the Democratic Party who decided that they would rather succeed from the nation to keep their slaves. So now you have this deception that Abraham Lincoln didn't want the Civil War. He didn't want to free slaves. He wrote a letter saying that it didn't matter. We just come back in the Union. The reason he did that, folks, is that the Republican Party has stood up. The Republican Party came out of this concept of compromise. And the Republican Party stood before the American people and said, we're not going to compromise. That's why I wrote the book. It's okay to leave the plantation. Because if you're going to make the plantation better, Democrats love that. They love to discuss minimum wage increases and low-income housing and more money for inner-city schools. They love that because it keeps your butt on that plantation, and all the money that comes in goes to their colleagues and friends. It doesn't come to black folks. So the Democrats were into compromising. Their whole focus was on slaves, breeding slaves, beating slaves, selling slaves, raping slaves, and working slaves to death. Their concept of minimum income was for you to work yourself, make babies to replace yourself, and die before you retire. What they do today, black folks. You're working yourself for 40 years. You retire at 65, 67. The average age of a black man is 69. You're behind work all your life to support the system and get none of that money because when you die, very little go to your wife. It goes back to the system and is handed out to the person who lives the longest, the white female. So your behind is still working to protect master's wife and kids, not your own. And if anybody dare mention changing Social Security, your behind, you have to protest because masters say we need Social Security. To mess with my Social Security, he gives you a jingle, he gives you a slogan. And you run out thinking that you're helping master by protecting yourself and your Social Security. They rob you, they text you when they give you the money, they put it in the bank for 40 years, collecting interest on your money. And then when they give it back to you, if they like you, if you're not making too much money in retirement, if you're not haven't done some good investing, they will give you some. And when they give it to you, they tax you again when they give it to you. You're a slave. And you retire broke, and your kids retire broke, and your grandkids retire broke. Broke is a mentality. You become an expert at 15th and the 30th. Stretching your money to the 15th and the 30th. And if Republicans come along with an idea to touch your Social Security, those slave wages, we protest and demonstrate.
Hi, this is Jewel Bakewell with Crown Jewel Realty. I'm your host of New Orleans Home Search Podcast, where we talk everything real estate and New Orleans. I'm here every first and third Thursday of the month on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
Every day, anytime, anywhere, every time, every day.
Only at UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
But on that plantation, your job, black man, was to make babies for master, be strong and athletic enough to dominate that field out there, pick that cotton for master, and deliver that money to master and his kids. Never think about your kids. And in the hood right now, those black men are bragging about how many babies they made for master. They bragging as being the best slave breeder out there. And we call our women bitches and hoes because we could not protect them. That's the Democratic Party. That's their system for you. The Republican Party stood up and said, we are not going to compromise. We were the party of no compromising. And when we finally stood up and said, no more of this mess, we stood up and in one election cycle, from 1854 to 1861, when Lincoln was the first candidate for the Republican Party for president, we had a massive landslide across this country. We stood and said, we will not compromise on slavery again. And they gave us the majority of House seats, the majority of House chambers, each state, the majority of state Senate and state houses, the majority of state governorships, the majority in the Congress, in the Senate, and then we get the president. All because we stood there and said, no doggone compromising. We're the party of no compromising. And now we're supposed to be ashamed of being right, ashamed of being righteous. So what happened? They keep saying the Democratic Party changed. They keep saying, well, they're no longer that way, Mason. They've changed. They take care of black folks now. Well, they took care of black folks back then, too. You took care of your slaves. That was an investment. You fed your slave. There is nothing more healthy today than a 19-year-old black male. We dominate everything. Football, basketball, track and field, boxing. We dominate. We're physical. Slaves are supposed to be physical. They're supposed to be a pick cotton all day long. It's strong. We're strong, folks. But tell me something, people. The diet that we have, the diet that we have been designed to eat, the diet that we call now our culture. Why is it that we're so strong at 69? No man on average, no man in America is as strong as a 19-year-old black man. But at age 69, we got high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes. Because we're made to be strong when we're young and die at retirement. Because no one wants to feed a retired slave. And we defend master. I can't tell you how many slaves went to war with the Confederacy to fight against their freedom. And how many today fight against their freedom. Because all the news they got was from master. All the news. We let them control CNN, ABC, and we let them control NBC. We let them, now they're controlling Fox. We let them control this narrative. If you was a World War II veteran in the Philippines somewhere, hopping down the island someplace, all your news came from Tokyo Rose, you would have a different view of the war than reality. If you watch the press as your expert and give your credibility to the press because some fool stand there and declare the truth his way, if you accept what that man says, you're going to be misled and deceived. So that the slaves had no choice but to bring what Master said. Master said, you get your food from the bowl. If you leave, how are you going to eat? I got the bowl. The Master said, those slaves up north, they're dead. They left the plantation and they're dead. Do you really believe that those northerners up there are going to give you a job over another slave? They want, another white man? They want you to die. They hate you. We love you. Your grandpa's buried here. Your great-grandpa's buried here. I take care of you. I feed you. I won't beat you off. Just get back in the fields and stop this stuff about leaving. Then you're going to die up there. And then when they finally left, they never came back and talked to them about it. They never came back and said, hey, we have to free them. Until the Republicans up north organized Underground Railroad to help them get out and also send back those slaves. See, those slaves knocked on their own door. Those slaves knocked and said, hey, we have been to freedom. Master is lying to you. We do have jobs. We are free to work. And Master does not want you to know. They came back. Harriet Tubman went back to her own plantation over and over and over and over again. They knew her. They knew what she had gone through. She said, Master is lying to you. So, folks, when you leave the plantation like I did, I have to go back. It's my job to go back. White folks can't go back. Those white abolitionists couldn't knock those slave doors in the middle of the night. They couldn't get down there. It took the slaves down to go down there. If a prostitute gets saved by God, she goes back to the prostitutes to preach. If a drug dealer gets saved, he goes back to the drug dealers. If you turn from liberalism to conservatism, from Democrat to Republican, you have to go back. So we are going back. We are organizing the guerrilla warriors to go back on the Underground Railroad, leading people to freedom. That's why I'm so happy you're on this network with us. I'm so happy you're here with us. Lead the plantation. Don't make it better. Don't improve it. Don't protest for better food. Lead it. Mentally and physically, we're going to lead it. We need you to help us get those folks on that new Underground Railroad train out.
Hey, y'all. This is Ted Hayes, a.k.a. Mr. Patriot. I want you all to go to urbansmartnetwork.com. I want you to sign up. Then I want you to request and follow me. And I want you to learn what we are presenting here with the 14th Amendment, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, what Dr. King called the promissory note, because there at our show called Your Power Weapon, you will learn what that power is only on urbansmartnetwork.com. Every Sunday, 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific Coast Time, 1 o'clock p.m. East Coast Time. Looking forward to seeing y'all. This is your power. Be a part of it. Only on urbansmartnetwork.com.
Only on urbansmartnetwork.com.
Because something happened this last 4 years, folks. You might not be aware of. Something happened. You know, the Democratic Party lied and fussed and called Trump names and Republicans names. They did all that stuff. But what happened, black folks started getting jobs. See, you can't lie to a man who's working about his income. You can't lie to a man that has income about his savings. It's hard to fool him when he's going to work every day. So black folks started entering the workforce under Trump. They got jobs. I got a phone call from a gang member, relative, hardcore hard, deep Bloods gang member. He called me. He said, Mason, Uncle Mason, man, I can't even hang out with my homeboys anymore. I said, why? He said, because they all got jobs now. Folks, Trump put folks to work. The highest employment rate of Black folks in history. Trump put people to, even those from inner city poor schools got jobs. 72% of Black people are now middle class. You kidding me, folks? You can't put them back in that bottle again. They're out here roaming around. They know, but they're not, they don't know where to go. They don't know how to find us. They can't find you and me. They can't find the party because they've been told they hate you. They know Democrats hate them. They know Democrats are bound it. But they don't know about us because they get all their news from Tokyo Rose, CNN, ABC, 1, 2, 3. It's going to take us to go back and sit in those barbershops and sit in those beauty salons and sit at the bar and make up a conversation. It's going to take us to go back to our family. Let's stop being afraid to bring up politics at Thanksgiving. You kidding me? I bring up politics. Because once you break that silence, those heads will pop up. They say, well, but I agree with you. I think that's true too. So let's not worry about how we're going to do it and who we're going to do it with. Folks, we are in a predicament right now that we're on the verge of really breaking the back of Democratic parties. So I'm going to talk to you today about how to respond to the nonsense that Democrats have changed. They even tell you under Rockefeller, not Rockefeller, but who was it when the senator ran for office? I forgot his name. They said the Republican Party changed back then, that it was a switch in the party. Democrats became Republicans, Republicans became Democrats, so this hatred should be at Republicans because Democrats have changed. Well, okay. All right. They tell you that. What do you say? How do you respond to that? You can't give them history. You keep saying, but that was history. I know they formed the Klan. I know they did Jim Crow, but that was history. That was history. How do you form? You can't say to them, gee, every protest that Dr. King had was against Democrats. Every cop that put him in jail was Democrat. Every time he got beaten was Democrats. Every time you saw police dogs on Black folks in the civil rights movement, it was set on by Democrats. So how do you fight that? That was back then. It was back then. We've changed now. Here's how I answer that question. Real simple. So if Democrats have changed, we should be able to look at them now and see the change. It's like a young man telling a girl he done beat her behind 4 times, 5 times in a row, and he keeps saying, I changed. Okay. So the more you beat her again, you have not changed. So if the Democratic Party has changed, we should be able to look and say, okay, so I want you people to tell me, every ghetto in America is owned by Democrats. Every ghetto is owned by Democrats. They rule it, they control it. So someone tell me a ghetto that you are proud of what Democrats have done in the Black community. Give me what? Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Chicago, East St. Louis, where, Miami? Show me where Democrats are control of Black people and Black people are better off. I want to see that part of town because every ghetto is owned, every inner city school, every drug neighborhood. Even when they have full power of the dollars in Congress, your behind is worse off when they leave office. You got more crime, more drugs, more pregnancies, more misery. They're the power, they're the party of misery. So if you say they've changed, okay, show me a inner city ghetto that you want to brag about. If you're saying they changed, you show me what inner city schools you can brag about. What can you brag? Man, Democrats are taking care of that school thing because they got money. Those schools got money. I saw years ago, did a survey of the amount of money spent in cities. Camden, New Jersey was spending $25,000 a student, and the graduation rate was in the 40s. $25,000 a student for 4 years in high school, and the graduation rate was in the 40s. That means you can give a student $100,000, $25,000 a year, Instead of going to school and buy him a truck to drive along, he'll make $80,000 a year driving a doggone truck with no high school diploma. You can give that money to the families and put them in business. You'd be better off than putting it behind those inner city gang prep schools.
Flossy high and yeah, we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making. And I heard they want my soul, Illuminati wanna take it. Two versus the family, MFM, the entertainment. And it's Tino, Sleep, Flossy high and yeah, we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making. And I heard they want my soul, Illuminati wanna take it.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because somewhere around the world, that is truly what time it is. I'm Montega Antone Tucker, Tony X, and we've moved our political content, the greatest political content, which is now uncensored, to urbansmartnetwork.com. Make sure you tune in 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on urbansmartnetwork.com.
Only on urbansmartnetwork.com.
In the back of my book, I have this is the last version, edition 4 of my book, It's Okay to Leave the Plantation. I want to read you what I put on the back cover. Victory comes to the faithful, not to the strong. Stay faithful. The Black community does not need leaders. We need families, and we need principles. Tribalism develops the urge to follow the tribe instead of your own goals and morals. It's okay to believe in yourself. It's okay to have confidence in your own abilities. It's okay to love your woman enough to marry her and live with her. It's okay to challenge yourself to fail or succeed on your own. It's okay to leave the plantation. But Master will not tell you. The noise you're hearing, the noise that Black folks are hearing is be a better slave. Be a better slave. They hear it in their music. They hear it from their teachers. They hear it from the people they look up to. They hear it from the news. They hear it from each other. Be a better slave. Black woman, you don't need no husband. Make some babies. We're going to take in the babies for you. We're going to take it. The Democrats love to take care of little Black babies, to raise them, to work for their children. They don't pick cotton anymore. They just pick your votes now. See, folks, how Democrats control us is the large cities. I mean, Missouri is a blood red state, except for St. Louis and Kansas City. Illinois is a real red state, except for Chicago and East St. Louis. Same with Pennsylvania, with Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. They control the large cities, which controls the number of House seats that they have statewide. They control the budget. They control where it goes. And the union gets paid. The union has all the work and power in these blue states because the union take those dues and fund Democratic campaigns. So the money goes back. Democrats are very good at supporting their guerrilla warriors. They're very good at keeping that money coming down to people that's going to support them and help them. We do the opposite. We try to be fair. So we don't support our guerrillas. We don't support our workers out there doing things you cannot do. We don't support them. But Democrats send money. You had Black Lives Matter, $80 million last year. What they do? What Black family got some of that money? What shooting victim got the college degree for their kids paid for? What did they do with the money? It's like buying houses and tear your neighborhood up and train your thugs that's going to riot the next election, the next time they need them. They were the brown shirts of the Democratic Party. Black Lives Matter was the brown shirts of the Democratic Party. They used them. It's always used in a Democratic neighborhood. You notice that? All these shootings, Democratic neighborhood. They're the people of violence. Always have been people of violence. So how are we gonna correct them and deal with them? It's pretty easy. We have to start supporting our guerrilla warriors. How do we win World War II, folks? It wasn't Eisenhower that won World War II, especially the war in Europe. It wasn't the 101st Airborne, as courageous as they were. It was those guerrilla warriors in France and Poland and even Germany. Those guerrilla warriors that blew up the bridges, disrupted the supply chain, that spied and reported back to the Allies, risked their lives and their families' lives to do that. But those guerrilla warriors, while they were brave, were unarmed and unsupplied. They needed supplies from the Allies. They needed weapons dropped in on them. They needed communication devices dropped in on them. They needed to know what targets need to be hit and when. So the Allies put a whole lot of effort in those guerrilla warriors. But the Republican Party, you have not learned that yet. You should be supporting this program. I can name a dozen other people who need your support. We're going to take the hill. We're going to attack the hill. We're down the hill. This is our community. We got to be one fighting for it. You take those freedom fighters in France, those farmers and businessmen, to put down their tools and get guns to protect their family and their heritage. It took that. Right now, Black folks, we're ready to go. We're ready to go. We're ready to go. We're eager to go. We go without any ammunition. We need some training. We need some supplies. We need some direction. And we take that Black vote back. If we take the Black vote back, folks, the Democratic Party will disappear. And they know that. They know that. That's why they're trying to bring in new Black folks called illegal aliens. They know they're losing the battle with Black folks. We're going to work now, people. We got jobs now. We have income. We got 401k program. I know a Black woman that has hundreds of thousands of dollars in a 401k program. How are you going to tell her to tax the rich? How are you going to tell her? You're going to tell her to tax the rich? No. You got to have some folks in here for the first generation poor people. Poor people vote Democrat. So the game now, folks, is real simple. We need your help. We need you to stand with us. We need you to supply us. So email me, mason@leadtheplantation.org, and see what you can do. We have an election coming up in 2022. And they're sitting down right now planning and scheming on how they're going to take more from you. They want total control. They preach tolerance. They preach open-mindedness. They preach getting along until they get a majority. And then they rule. This election, they're going to try to rule. Trump scared them, folks. Trump, they thought they could ease into it. They figured one more generation of our kids going to their game prep schools. They figured one more generation of their kids going to their college. They figured this, so then they would be able to say, well, we can relax. But Trump scared them. Trump started talking about draining the swamp. Trump started talking about putting money, cash money into historically Black colleges. Man, Trump started bringing Black folks to the White House and Mar-a-Lago, trying to educate and stimulate and send back to the neighborhoods. Trump scared them. So now they're a little desperate. They're a little less than patient. Democratic Party, man, Democrats are very, very patient. Liberalism is very patient. Communism is very patient. They walk slowly. Generations. China has got a 100-year plan for your behind. 100-year plan. We can't plan to the next election. They're methodical. They're patient. We let them join us and work with us and destroy us from inside. We call them rhinos and whatever you want to call them. We don't infiltrate them. We don't infiltrate them. We don't get together 20 and 30 of us and go out and join the Democratic Central Committee. That would be fun. That would be fun. Get 20 and 30 Republicans and go out and join the Democratic Party and go to the Central Committee and elect somebody as chairman. That's guerrilla warfare, folks. And that's what I'm talking about. We want you to join us because it's important that we have the ammunition to go and do this. Another book that I've written is very effective in the Black community. You answer these questions. It's very effective, folks. The Democratic Party hates America. I put this in the hands of a Black barber. He was tall, strong, good-looking, charismatic man, sharp, dressed all sharp. He was spouting the garbage that he heard on TV. But effectively, people were listening to him effectively. He got that voice thing. And I said, man, sir, you're very good. You're very good at your BS, but you're very good. Because people they hear the strongness of your voice, determined, and they think he knows what he's talking about because he's so fearful. Now, I said, sir, I don't think you're deceptive. I think you sincerely believe what you're saying, but you have not looked into what you're saying. You have no evidence, no proof. I wrote a book here, so I'm going to get you to read this book. I'm going to give it to you. The Democratic Party Hates America, not just black folks. The original title of this book was The Democratic Party Hates Black Folks. But I started writing this book, and I said, wait a minute. They hate everybody. They hate black folks, white folks. They hate working people. They hate rich people. They hate poor people. They hate everything. Hate babies. But this book, you can get this book to your little liberal friend because it has bold statements in it. And then you ask them a question. Can you read this book for me and come back to me and tell me where he is wrong? You never ask a Democrat to tell you how they feel. You ask them to tell me where he is wrong. Give me a fact that this book is not accurate. Give me a fact that this book is not correct. And they read the book, knowing they're going to talk to you again. They read the book and try to think, what am I going to say about this? What am I going to say about that? Well, I got to dispute this. This is too powerful. And when they're doing this, they're thinking. They're thinking. And folks, you cannot think and stay a Democrat. You cannot think and stay a liberal. You have to be feeling. You got to be scared. You got to be hungry. You got to be angry. You got to be frustrated. You cannot be happy. You cannot be educated. You cannot be in control. You have to feel like you're out of control. So you give this book or any of my books, any book you want them to read, you say, you tell them, I heard this black man speak. Because if you say that, first, now you get their attention. They think you're racist. So you actually listen to a black man speak. Interesting. And you say, I'm confused. And now they think, well, I've been waiting against Aunt Mary all these years. Now she's confused. They think you're confused anyway. They think you're racist, and they think you're confused. So you say, I read this book, and I'm not sure. Can you take this book from me and tell me where it's wrong? He says a lot of things in his book about Democrats. I mean, it's amazing that he's saying these things and nobody's coming against him. Nobody's disputing him. He says, the Democratic Party hates black people. The Democratic Party hates America. They hate American success. They hate freedom. Wow, they hate capitalism. They hate white people. And it goes on and on. So can you tell me, just pick out a chapter here and tell me where he is wrong. Not what you feel, what you know. They cannot come back with you without being changed. This is Mason Weaver. As soon as this program is over, rush to the website, leavetheplantation.org, and get your copy of Raunchy Secrets Only Wives Should Know. It will give you information, knowledge on how to communicate to your man your needs and your frustrations. And it opens up a conversation, and the conversation leads to love, and love leads to a family, and family leads to freedom. Get the copy today at leavetheplantation.org. I got 12 books out, folks. There are bricks to the head of them, but you cannot give them to them. You cannot go down there and debate these things with them. We will. I got a whole lot of folks behind me. I've been training folks for 35 years in doing this. We're very effective, but not nearly as effective as we can be if we have you righteous, conservative Republicans behind us. We need the ammunition. We need the logistics. We need to know what to do with the knowledge that we have to pass on to you. So we have to come together and do a couple of things. First, we have to be able to Strategize. Republicans and conservatives are not one group. We all have different little things that we want to do. We call them cliques. In high school, they call them cliques. Junior high school, they were cliques. You ate at certain tables. You dress a certain way. We need that. Some of you conservatives are different from me. Find the clique that you can join and you gel together. And you come together on the conservative banner, but y'all got little orbits that you're working around, working on different things. Some for abortion, some for lower taxes, some for blah, blah, blah. But your values are conservative. And you come together, you find a little team that can't quite get traction. It needs your expertise. And you set them up, you keep them going, folks. So that's your union. These are people that's going to be walking precincts for you. These are folks that are going to be out there canvassing. They're going to be your candidates in 10 years. Don't let the other cliques in the Republican Party, the rhinos, the log cabins, don't let them get a hold. They're planning, they're organizing. And they're Republicans. Good, God bless, they're going to vote for us. They're going to vote for our candidates, maybe. But you Christian conservatives, you narrow-minded, closed-minded Christian Republican conservatives, you need a clique. Let's start a clique. We are the Republican Party. We are unique. We're different than any party in the history of mankind, folks. We are different than any party. We took over this government by promising to stop compromising. We looked at evil in the face, and we went against our own relatives. You white folks, God bless you, man. Can you imagine taking up arms against your brother to free strangers? What kind of power does that take? What kind of moral stance would that take? I mean, think about it. You up north, you're making your money, you're doing your thing, and down south you're treating people wrong. You're going to get up and take arms against your brother and destroy the whole doggone South? To free people that don't look like you, don't talk like you, don't think like you. Because it was moral? That Republican Party, y'all some bad dudes. Come on, folks, get back to your pedigree. Why are we taking this mess and letting them take our kids and destroy them in schools? Why are we taking them and letting them give us drugs? Why are we taking a doggone shot that we know it's bad for us? Why do we let them close our churches, look us in the eye, and say, your church is not essential? You kidding me? Your church is not, but the whole house is essential. The liquor store, that's essential. The pot shop is essential, but your church, you can have only 50 people in your church. I don't care if it's 1,000 people. You can have 50 people in your church. And you can't hug each other. You can't sing praises to your God. You cannot shout in your church because the government said so. And the church said, okay, I don't want to lose my 501c. I don't want to lose my tax exempt status because, Lord have mercy, we know that the people get the money just for the tax break. Nonsense. But the church was silent on that. How dare the government? Folks, there's only two businesses mentioned in the Constitution, the church and the press. Can you imagine the government telling the press they can't meet in the press room? Can you imagine the government telling the New York Times not to discuss COVID or not to meet in the boardroom? There'd be massive destruction. But they tell the church to shut up, sit down, and behave yourself till we tell you and to praise your God. What's God going to do? Is he going to bless us with the election if we go give honor to Baal? The churches should have stood up and protested. And yes, we pastors would have went to jail. So what? So did Paul. Can you imagine what would have happened to the first century church if Paul was afraid to go to jail? What would have happened if Jesus was afraid of being arrested? Stop playing here, folks. We came as a party out of our faith. It was Reverend John Brown. It was Minister Harry Mr. Stoll. It wasn't a bunch of farmers decided to go. These are people of God that led a Christian movement with the Wesleyan Church and the Quaker Church. That's our pedigree, folks. That's who we are. That's how we got victory. We went into battle. We went into battle singing, glory, glory, hallelujah. It was our battle song. You kidding me? We are Republicans. So let's get together. Let's stop this wringing our hands and seeing how big Goliath is. Let's stop this wringing our hands trying to figure out how high the walls are around Jericho. If we just show up, those walls tumble down. If we just show up, Goliath falls as a pile of dust to our feet. But not until we show up. Not until we act like we believe in God. That's why they keep telling us to stay still, stay still, stay still, because faith is a verb. It's an action. It's not just sit back wondering why don't somebody do something. Now, all of you cannot be a David. All of you cannot be a Paul. But both of them had people that supported him. Christ had people that supported him, fed him, found a place for him to stay. We cannot operate without the support mechanism. The slavery would be still going on today without a network of safe houses for those slaves to go to. Where are the safe houses that for people who want to leave the ghetto? Where are the safe houses for people who want to leave liberalism? There's no safe house. Because we, the original safe houses, the Republican Party, have not built one. This is time for us to stop and get back to what has always, always, always worked for us. Always worked for us. Every time we tried it, it worked. Show up. Show up. The victory is ours. So if we don't show up, God will sit back and wait. Let me know y'all tired of crying. Let me know y'all tired of whining. Because right in our face, we see the problem. We see the stress of the family. We see the stress of the children. We see them eating our kids. We see it. God gives us a vision. We cannot turn our head away from it. Everywhere we look, we see the problem. The problem is not political. Everything you do today, everything you do tomorrow morning when you wake up, everything you do is controlled by your government. Regulation, taxes, permit, fee, authority, every single thing you do. We are a free country. Can anybody name one thing you do tomorrow that's free? That's free from your government regulating you? Everything. You wake up tomorrow morning under government-approved sheets for fire resistance. Your hot water heater is controlled by your government. When are we going to stop and say we are independent, free, sovereign people? We are not a democracy. We are not. Learn who we are. Learn who we are, folks. And if we understand who we are, we will take control of this nation by just showing up. David was busy going about his father's business, taking care of his sons, his brothers. And Goliath was standing in front of the people of God, blaspheming God in front of them. Everybody was frozen in fear. David's in a hurry. I got to go take care of these sheep, but I got a minute. Anybody got any stones? I got a minute. He took care of business. You all know why David took 5 stones with him? He wasn't thinking about missing. He took 5 stones because Goliath had 4 brothers. He got something for you and your family. When will we have the faith to stand up against Goliath and say, you are dust? That got us on the run, folks. We are people of God. We are Republicans. My goodness, that's how we started on our knees. Our nation started on drugs, washing, and praying. We get them thinking that God is irrelevant because they hate God. They hate God. So I want to invite you to join us. Really, we need you to join us. Lead the Plantation. My email is mason@leadtheplantation.com. I will come and speak at your groups. I'll come and lecture. I sit down and try to dance with you. I introduce you to people like myself all over this country. We're going to be open in public. You don't have to be. You don't have to be. You don't always have to be the warrior. God calls a few to that, and he gives them the courage to do it. But you must be our support system. You must be our support system. You cannot say, when is somebody going to do something about that? And not buy a book. And not give me a phone call and say, let's go do this, go do this. If we do this, if we get that black vote to switch, brother, the Democratic Party will disappear. Can you imagine? I mean, we're already seeing it. These Democrats are losing their election in these little enclaves. And they're losing the elections. They're getting closer. But we need to be able to supply them. So I may even put these books on special. I may give a discount. If you join, maybe we'll give you a book. I don't know, something.
Hi, this is Miss Jones.
Roman Crispin here.
Carl Prophet, host of the Real Estate Dim Sum Show.
Catch us every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
The best real estate show on the planet.
Act like we don't know each other.
We helping everybody get homes in 2021 and beyond.
Only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
Only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
We got to do something. And then we have an organizing situation. We sit down, we're going to talk about how to strategize and do this. I spent $30,000 last election on ads in Black communities, running ads. Why are you a Democrat? Why you support the Democratic Party? Why are you sit back worried about, Kamala Harris? We spent $30,000, my family, my kids' inheritance, like that. But the response. I never heard that, Mason. I didn't know about that. Prove that to me. I got challenged. Prove that to me. Okay. We opened some eyes up, folks, but we couldn't keep them together to continue the education. Some we kept. We could not engage them enough. They should be an organization now. They should be learning and planning and strategizing about the principles that keep them alive, keep their family in money. Not their group, not their neighborhood, not their community. Them, each individual growing behind man, and each individual growing behind woman, coming together with a plan to take care of their growing behind children. That takes a new community, folks. And we got a plan to do that. We've been working on this for 3 years. We have a plan to do that. We're going to go set those slaves free again because we are Republicans, and that's what we do. And that's how we operate. So, I want you to join us. I want you to get together. You don't have to go to battle with us. You don't even have to be known to the crowd. We know this is a battle. And we don't want everybody to be the victim. My job is to be the victim. Let them come to me. Let them come to my groups. I got some folks around me, man, who eager to go. But we cannot go until you give us the shoes. We cannot go until you give us the direction. So join us, leadtheplantation.org. It is an organization of like-minded people who are eager to go and take on David and take on Goliath and everyone else. So if you have any questions for me or any suggestions for me, I answer all emails. I've been slow lately because we've been doing a whole lot of work, but my email is mason@leadtheplantation.org. Book number 13 is being developed. It's in my mind right now. I think it's going to have to be bolder than I've ever been because now these people are ready to leave the plantation. They're lined up at the gate. They don't know where to go. Master told the slaves their freedom, that the north was south and south was north. So they want them to go out at midnight and go deeper into the South, deeper into slavery, thinking they're going to freedom. It took someone who has been to freedom to tap them on the shoulder and say, no, master, line you. This is not. This is freedom, this way. And take those slaves from house to house to house until they got free. It was a Christian movement by the Quaker Church and the Western Church. It was a Christian movement because it had to be morally based. To get someone to go and fight their brothers, their free strangers, that was the most unique civil war in world history. Never had you saw that, where brothers, now you found brothers fighting each other for control of the nation, for control of the kingdom. You saw that. That's not what I mean. But for the purpose, you're fighting your brother that you all otherwise loved. This is not Family Feud. They love their brothers. They got along with their family. But you're not giving those slaves up? You're not giving those slaves up. I cannot imagine what kind of moral standard that took. So we owe them. Man, 360,000 white Republicans died to free black folks. You don't owe me reparations. I owe you something. I'm not going to let what you fought for. I'm not going to let the graves of your ancestors go to dust. We're going to take our country back. We're going to take our country back because of what your ancestors did and mine. We're going to take it back because they gave too much. Those slaves stood there in fear. They trembled in fear to do what I do self-conscious now. Read. It was against the law for a black man to do this. It was 39 lashes for a black man to read a book. Frederick Douglass' owner told him, if you learn to read, you want to be free. Frederick Douglass said, really? Taught himself to read, like Abraham Lincoln did. Folks, we owe them too much to let them lead us. We won the doggone Civil War. Why are they leading us? Why is their philosophy leading us? Because we have not stood up for what they died for. We are Republicans. We are righteous. We are moral. Are we afraid of us? Get our little names called. A name calling. Can you imagine what they call me? I'm a black man with a Trump hat on. Can you imagine them get called? Actually, I don't get called names at all. It's a mirage, folks. Black folks don't hate this hat. I've never had a negative comment about this hat. Never. Not one. I've had people comment about my GOP hat, but never. I went to the VA yesterday. Bam. Not one comment. It's a myth. It's a myth. They want us to be afraid to express ourselves for ourselves. They want to be afraid of that. Folks, I got it. I know that you see TV and all the folks getting beat up and slapped around and tires getting cut. They promote that and promote that till you think it's normal. And I understand, if you're afraid, be honest with yourself. Be afraid. Be honest with yourself. But you can unanimously help us. So we're not afraid. We know I'm afraid of them winning. That frightens me. Them winning frightens me. When they have the power to come for your guns, when they have the power to make you go to their government schools, when they have the power to force you to take a shot, that frightens me. And it's going to happen unless we stand up. All we got to do is stand up. Just stand up. I'm asking you. Are you going to stand up with us? But we cannot do this by ourselves. We cannot do it. We can go act a fool. We can go talk and shout and demonstrate. But will you help us take this hill? No, you want to end crime in the black community? It's real simple. It's real simple. The black man in America makes up about 7% of the population. We also make up 25% of the military. So 25% of the biggest, baddest, toughest military on planet Earth, the best trained, the best motivated. We make up 25% of the military that guards Japan, that guards Germany from Russia. This is the military that guards the world. And then those black men get out of the military and go home and let Pookie and Ray Ray run their family, run their little girls in the corner, have the little boys selling drugs for them. And those warriors are sitting at home saying, man, we're brave, we're bold, but somebody has to organize these young men, these military guys, man, like me. And then we'll take back. Can you imagine what would happen in the hood if every honorable discharged veteran get discharged with his sidearm? You're 214, your military discharge papers authorize you to conceal carry anywhere in the country. Can you imagine what would happen immediately if your out of discharge papers gave you a indisputable nationwide concealed carry permit? Because if your behind can carry a gun and protect Afghanistan, doggone, why can't you carry a gun to protect Philadelphia? That would change overnight, the gang problem, overnight. But we're afraid we take the military training and put these guys at the VA where they treat like slaves in there and treat it like they're all sick with PTSD. We think that that's what the veteran is. They tell us that. And these men become humble because if you're a combat veteran, you through the war. Most combat veterans are mild-mannered. Bob Dole, Einstein, Eisenhower. People who go to battle tend to because they've seen enough. But every military person is trained. Every military person is vocal. What happened if we gave those guys guns? Take that firearm you got and keep it with you going home. That would solve the problem, folks. You want to solve the illegal alien problem? Fine Mexico $1,000 for everyone that we catch here that don't belong here. Came to their country. It will stop it. But what stops the black voting for slavery? What stops the black votes for more slavery? What stops the black people from voting for the best master? It's us to show up. Because that plantation, they're told, those Republicans hate you, those black folks that left hate you, there's no hope but me. You keep begging for minimum wage increase, we give you that, but never maximum wage. You keep begging for low-income housing, we'll build a ghetto for you, but not ever on high-income housing. You keep studying yourself to make babies for me to raise, to work for my kids, and we'll do that, we'll take care of you. And he tells those black folks that it takes us to come back and knock on that doggone door in the middle of the night. Excuse me, master's lying to you. Freedom is that way. I have been to freedom. I'm going to take you every step of the way, from safe house to safe house to safe house to freedom. And when you get to freedom, you're going to get your job and get you motivated, get you educated. And then you're going to come back and go get other folks yourself. That's your responsibility. That's your honor. And we're going to walk out of it. So, folks, this is Mason Weaver. I'm here every Tuesday. Where are you going to be next Tuesday? We're going to give you feed. We're going to give you encouragement. We're going to give you news. But we need your help, we need your love, we need your prayers. Mason at leadtheplantation.org. Stay right or be left. We're going to go to freedom. God bless you.
Only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.